Hey y'all, you're listening to the Immersion podcast. Here on the show, we'll learn from guests from all walks of life, exploring the impact of character on the mundane and the extraordinary alike. Thanks for joining. I'm your host, Ben Liu. If you enjoyed today's episode, go share it with a friend. All right, folks. Today, I'm so excited to have my friend Joe Tiano with us today. Hi, Joe.
Hello there, Ben.
Joe is a phenomenal photographer. We'll dive further into that, but I've met Joe through our mutual friend Ross Rawson, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it through Kingsfield?
It might have been through Kingsfield, actually.
Yeah, well, if you guys have been watching the episodes, Jaime Reyes, Kingsfield, I mean, it's a great central place. So it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's right downstairs. So
Yeah. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. But I've known you for about at least 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 years.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
And so we've had the privilege of working together on a few sets. We've talked business together. We've walked through bringing on other people into our own staff together and what that looks like. And, we've walked through a whole bunch of different things together as creatives and then also apart at the same time because, life just happens and we're rolling from that. But yeah.
Yeah. And you played a pretty big role when I was raising rates.
Okay.
That was you, brother.
Before we get to that, why don't you tell the listeners and the viewers who you are and what you do and how you got into photos and then what you're specializing in, man?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a photographer, Metro Detroit. My specialty is interiors and architectural photography, mainly leaning into interior design type stuff more than anything. So I photograph for interior designers, custom home builders, millwork companies, and design architects. So I'm 39 years old. I've been shooting since high school, and I like photo class. So it goes back that far. But I also stopped for a long time to open up an automotive performance business. I think I'm a serial entrepreneur at heart. I just like business and I like people. Right now, the camera happens to be the tool in my hand, but I do love it an awful lot. Somewhere in between there. Before I could do design, architectural photography and stuff like that, real estate is a very low barrier of entry for photographers and videographers both. You can get in there because there's so many people. So that taught me the skill set to be able to get some higher paying clients down the road. So that's a little bit about how I got here.
That's awesome. Yeah. And if you ever get the chance to meet Joe, he is one of the most cheerful people you'll ever meet and can light up a room easily.
Thank you, brother. This is an extremely intimate setting of warm lights and just two of us. So my voice is getting this. My voice has got very deep and you hear the smooth silkiness that's happening here.
Are we listening to smooth jazz right now? 98.
But yeah, I would say that. I would say that. Yeah. Cheerful.
Amazing. Well, hey, man, thank you again for being on, for being willing to join and talk about a bit of your photo journey, which is kind of the whole reason we've stayed in touch, but at the same time have been able to really celebrate you from the sidelines. And so I guess let's just get right into it. We connected really well over work because photo, but then real estate being that low bar of entry was a really great place because we both had people who were teaching at the time and really got to connect further that way.
That's right.
And I remember the one pivotal moment in my own career was starting to say no to a few things because in growing a team where I had one guy that was with me predominantly and then I had a few other shooters and associates that would join. I wanted this one dude to be able to, take on more work so he could get paid more and have more experience on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember passing off this client over to you because she was a good friend of mine, but I knew what she did was so specific that I'm like, man, this doesn't fit my realm. Like, I was flattered, like, you know, her husband's a great guy and I love them both dearly. I've known them for like, gosh, since I was 16.
Yeah.
Whew. I know, I'm like, the heck? So it's kind of full circle to like reconnect with this person. But I just kind of knew, I'm like, man, like, I need to pass this off because I don't do architectural photography in any capacity. Never did, never will. Sticking with landscapes, people. And I was like, man, like, the perfect guy for the job would be Joe Tiano. And my references for that time for why I wanted to recommend you was, one, I knew that you would take care of her, or I could trust that you would take care of her, rather. Two, I knew your work was so good that I didn't really need to explain further, because in just like someone with a camera versus like someone who actually knows what they're doing for interior lighting, matching it with ambient light and rolling from there, I was like, man, this just makes sense. But why don't you carry it from there?
Yeah. So Amy Elizabeth Designs is who you're talking about.
Correct.
And dude, that call came in at a really good time for me, brother. I don't know if I've ever even shared that much with you, but so that was right in the heat of me grinding really hard at real estate photography so I could pay bills. That's the reality of it, is you can get a lot of shoots. I mean, I think that particular year I probably did somewhere between 250 and 300 houses for real estate photo.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So it's a grind. Like, you know, that turnaround, like working with Ross, you know that it needs to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
Always with all real estate.
48 hours is actually more like 4 to 8 hours.
Right. So I was in this grind, but I had sold my other business to one of the employees from my last business. So that was gone at this point. I was trying to get my photo kind of business going, and I fell into this comfort zone very quickly of real estate photo, because you can walk into any corner coffee shop and run into 35 real estate agents that that need photos. So it was very easy to build up a list realistically. Still not like handed to you. You have to work for it, but your call came in at the point when I was starting to realize I really wanted to focus more design and architecture. A, they're higher paying clients. B, they are somebody that appreciate that nuance that comes with understanding lighting within a space, which the shelf life for a real estate photo is when the house sells. The shelf life for a design photo is in perpetuity. It's forever. A lot of times, right? They can be used for marketing materials or to help promote a business, or look at the kind of room I did, and even, you know, a lot of that stuff just lives in forever.
Inherently, that value is invaluable because of the capacity that it can be used to.
Yes, yeah.
Used for, rather.
Yeah, and the shoulders that you're standing on of these spaces that are built are a lot of people's really hard work and a lifetime of craftsmanship and care, attention to detail, design, color palettes, so much stuff. And so the appreciation of being overly obsessed about all the little details, that's who they want in the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the real estate agent does not care. They just need to sell the house, right? So and so when your call came through on this, I had only a couple clients at the time that were considered, I was just going to call them design clients, and I work with them, you know, sporadically. And so Amy was the first one that I had that came in that felt like it was the right timing. I got to show her kind of what I do and put my passion and love in it. I had the experience at this point. I was confident in my work, and she appreciated it, and I saw that in her on site. And then when I delivered the product to her, just like this level of appreciation. Like, I remember she said something like, "You show the room off like I envisioned it before we ever built the space," and that meant something, because that's what I want. I want to be able to showcase that you're working with the right client at that point. You know, you're sitting in the right room at that point. So it lit a fire under me. Like, how do I get 30 more Amy's at that point? So that was, to me, even though I had clients before that, that really felt like a new start point.
Absolutely, because you felt like probably that you found your mark, you found your niche, you found the exact clientele, not the bordering edge, not someone who's tiptoeing into it, someone who was directly bullseye into what that was.
Absolutely.
That's so cool. So then, like, man, I mean, obviously with years in your background, then like adding in your personality and different things like that, how else did it explode from there, or grow, I should say?
Yeah, a lot of purposeful actions. I think I went back and reflected a lot at that point on, see, and this is hard because this is like in retrospect, right? So it's like, even though this might come off and sound like, oh, I got my stuff together and I did this, this, and this. The reality is I was falling down a hill rolling.
Yeah. You're like, we're just rolling with it.
So, but like looking back at it, what I was doing was I was able to, over the next, let's just say 6 to 8 months, come to the realization that the clients that I was working with on a day-to-day basis were not necessarily my dream clients.
Right.
Those were the convenient clients that paid the bills.
Right.
And what did I have to do to make sure I was sitting in the right room with the right people to make sure that I could have my dream clients? And that took me back to building that dream client list up. Who are those people? What are the clients that I actually want to work with that bring me the most joy in just like what makes me happy, but then also that my skill set aligns with their needs.
Right.
And it's a twofer. So I got a coach.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah.
Like a business coach?
So yes, he's a business coach. His name is Daryl Stringer. He's out of Australia, and he specializes in real estate businesses. His company is called Build a Photo Business.
Interesting.
And so I don't think I've ever shared this with you before.
No, that's why I'm like, wait, hold on. This is like, yeah.
I wanted help. I've done this before, man. So like I built businesses before and I thought I could do everything. And the reality is you just can't. You can't build a business by yourself. You need to lean on support system. You need to have people like that you can lean into, that you can be vulnerable with. This was my awareness that I didn't have necessarily all the tools in my belt at this time. So I reached out to him, this was maybe almost a year process of me trying to hook up with him and make this happen, and going back and forth and stuff, because he only accepts a certain level of, or a certain amount of clients. And,
wow.
It's based by region, so he cuts it off. And though he focuses on a lot of real estate photographers, the reality is he helps them become whatever they really want. If you want to scale your business and you want 10 shooters, he can help you do that. That's really cool. Yeah. So he's got enough expertise. Sorry to step over.
Go. Enough expertise to then really walk you through into the fruition of whatever you actually want to do.
Yeah. He helped me realize, he helped me through tons of questions, tons of calls, and like worksheets, and do I want to have 5 of me through Metro Detroit shooting a bunch of real estate properties and then slowly do some design architectural stuff, or do I want to
be just you and rock it out?
Yeah. And do we cut real estate, and do we focus heavily in this other market, and what that looks like, how to do that, help me build the dream client list. And he brought awareness to it. Like, a lot of the stuff is internalized. We don't talk like that freely with a lot of people, not to mention who the hell owes that to us?
Right. Yeah. You're like, the heck?
Yeah. Like, you can get some feedback. You helped me, like I said, you helped me with like rates and stuff. That was a great conversation downstairs in Desert Oasis. Plug.
Big plug.
And you can have friends and acquaintances and all that stuff that help you with that stuff. But man, I believe in leaning on people that will hold you accountable in a really big fashion. So the coach helped me, and we started to come up with a strategy of how to make sure that I was in the right room with the right people that were my dream clients, that my skill sets aligned. That's the start of it.
So then, like, what did that accountability look like, right? Because I think accountability can sometimes just be like a verbal exchange, and then it never really amounted to anything. I'm sure because you hired a coach, that sacrifice of handing over your money plus your time, which also equates to money, both hand. What did that look like? Was that like a once a month thing, a weekly thing, bi-weekly thing?
So it's still happening.
Okay.
And I don't think I'll ever, I don't intend to ever have it leave. And by the way, I surround myself with a lot of accountability in my life, and it's not just him. So like full disclosure on this, I got my buddy Sam and Dave and Mike that we've been doing. In my calendar, I call it the Accountability Bros, but it's coffee hangs with some friends that own businesses in Metro Detroit. We've been doing it for probably close to 5 years now, man.
Dang.
Every other week, and we very rarely miss on that stuff. Sometimes some people are can't make it, but ultimately every other week we're sitting down for coffee, and it's a 2-3 hour deal where we're sharing business stuff with each other. Separately from that, I have one person under my employ, Steph Kennedy, who we don't really have a title for her, but I'm going to call her my powerhouse. She does everything from administrative stuff to help with delivers and accountability stuff as well too, is where her role has really flourished more recently. So she helps with running objectives and key results for the business, all the statistics. How many shoots did we do? What's the average cost per shoot that it cost us? What's the average, what's the average return that we're getting on these pieces? She runs our dream client list. Are we reaching out to them? How many contacts did you make? Everything's a stat at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. So with the Accountability Coffee Bros, Steph as the powerhouse within my company, which right now is under the it's called Pro Exposure Photo, which I'm going to be dropping soon anyways. It's just going to drop to my name, so which is Joseph Tiano, is what it'll call. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that freeze frame and just make that.
Freeze frame, that's the little thumbnail.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Daryl, who is a paid coach. So I surround myself on this. This is I can't escape it now, right? I've purposely put people in positions around me and invite people to be around me to make sure that I stay on track. I know where my strong suits are in business. I like people. I love to obsess over photo and lighting. Like, holy crap. That's my happy place, man. Like, I could be behind a computer editing a photo for 2 hours and be just cool with that, right? But I also know that stuff can be to your detriment. We're business owners. We're not just creatives. We're not just creators.
Right.
And so if I know my weak point is taxes and accounting and invoicing people and staying on track with statistics and numbers and making sure that these organic conversations are still organic, but how can we make sure they're a little bit more purposeful? That's where everyone else around me comes in. So building that support system, absolutely pivotal in making sure that there's more Amy's, like that first client I had, and that's what's happened.
That's awesome. Okay. Wow. That's so cool. And I love that because it's like a lot of photographers I find have this, they're in either of one of two camps. Their expertise isn't high enough to get the clients that they want or even the checks that they want. Mm-hmm. Or they haven't fully taken on the mantle of being a business owner / entrepreneur, which is essentially what you did because you recognized, hey, I've got faults and I need someone who's better than me at running a business to be able to teach me business, to be able to model all that. Because it's not just simple statistics. Like it's all actual, it's just running a business. There's nothing else to it. Like it's not a crazy idea, nor is it like being an elitist. It's just, no, you're just running a business like how a business should be ran.
Yep. It's not just about being friendly and getting people their content that they need. It's like we want to flourish. Dude, you're the same way, man. Like we can obsess over quality of a product, but the reality is what that's showcasing about us as humans like us, like creators or whatever, is that we have a desire for some level of growth, perfection, just to what's the word I'm looking for here, man? Like rip something apart and make it the best version of itself.
Perfectionism?
No, yeah, I guess so. But
Perfectionist?
we'll just go with that. But it's
You're
like
yes and no.
but like that doesn't just show in our creative work. That's how you want to live your life. That means your business has to flourish in that fashion too. That means a lot of aspects in your life you want your relationships to feel that way as well too. So it's really difficult, I think, to focus only on the creative aspect, find all the nuances, do great at it, and then ignore the fact that your bills aren't being paid the way you want to, or your savings account isn't, or your retirement plan isn't, or your house isn't, or your, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And it's multifaceted to be in a creative business, in any business, but you can't ignore the finances and all that stuff, man.
Right. Which is like such a hard one. And I get it because people are afraid to talk finances. I remember reading a book where it's like, rule number 1, can't be afraid to talk finances. And I'm like, okay, simple as that. Got it. It's not rude. It's just money. You can make more. You can talk about it. But if you are afraid to talk about it, you'll never get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think actually not perfectionist. It's just striving for and being like, having a hold on. And it's not perfectionist or being, perfecting things in a mindset of that, but rather it's the pursuit of constantly wanting to get better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Bettering your life, bettering X, Y, and Z, and just like, hey, how do I find fulfillment in this in all realms? So it's not just feeding this single facet.
Yeah. It's really easy to get caught up in the creative aspect because you see wins for there quick.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Hands down.
And then you're like, that feeds you dopamine, that feeds your ego. It feeds a lot of things. But the reality is that you got to pay attention to the other end of stuff. It's a business, and you'll burn yourself out. And like, you can be, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of great artists that don't go past a certain point because of the business thing. And I think there's a lot of mediocre artists that make it because they can focus on the business, right?
Right.
I don't find myself to necessarily be like a world-class interiors photographer.
I mean, if I can get you to Colorado, I think we could change that real quick.
But I think that I enjoy the process of a growth mindset around all aspects of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I remember telling one of my old associates that like nobody cares if you're creative if you can't deliver what you need to deliver. And that was with that whole intention of saying, hey, like you can be as creative as you want, but until you actually deliver what a client needs, or in this case, if you treat yourself like a client, because you need to get paid, because you can't eat a photo for dinner, right?
Yeah.
You can't pay for a house with photographs physically or digitally. Like it's, there's things about it where it's like, hey, like that's where the rubber meets the road of like, hey, like if you anyone who is aspiring to be any kind of creative, it's like, hey, like if you can't actually pay the bills, it's like, what are you doing?
Yep.
And there's an exchange and there's a few lines, and it's not like that's the hard rule, but like when you're growing something, it has to be, right?
Absolutely. But there's also a lot of free shoots in there too.
There is. Well, that and bartering. Bartering is a big one.
Bartering's good.
I will probably do a whole thing on bartering
a whole
one
episode
day.
on,
Just like,
on bartering?
Yeah, bro. Like I remember meeting with my CPA and then I had another financial advisor like kind of peek into my life, and they're like, how the heck are you getting paid X amount a month? Like IRS isn't going to believe that. And I'm like, well, actually, like this is like, this is how I make it off of, under $1,000 a month for myself. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, like I just, between some due diligences and then going like, yeah, I meal prep every week, used to be like 14 meals a week, and now it's, went down to like 6 meals a week, and now we're somewhere between like 3 to 5 a week. And so I'm like, okay, like when that is majority of your cost, because let's be honest, everybody loves to eat. Also, it saves time when you meal prep. It made a lot of sense where I, was kind of laughed. But yeah, back to you. In this growth then, how often after you had your first dream client, Amy, did you have to begin to say no to like other things in order to grow this dream clientele of yours or this dream industry of yours?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, this is good. So many no's. So many no's.
So many no's?
So many no's. There are, when you're in a creative space like this, right, you have people that don't understand what you do all around you. The very first thing that most, like if you say you're a photographer out of the gate, the very first thing, oh, do you shoot weddings and families? And so like that's the level of just general people around you that don't know what you're doing quite yet. So that goes with clients too. So it's about communication, right? And really making sure that you're making it clear what you do to the people that you're sitting down across the table from for a pitch. But I had built up, like I said, 250, 300 shoots of real estate in a year. That means I have a decent number of clients that are the wrong clients, but they pay the bills.
Correct.
And so this transition, and I'm still in it, man. Like I'm still very much in it. This transition of how do I get, the reality is little amount of real estate and most design, right? So, but you can't just cut it off. You can't just say goodbye, all the money that I make that pays the bills, and I have no income. So it's been a slow transition. So that comes with, it started with raising some prices. So you lose a couple clients, right? You're building that with meeting the right people. In between this process, a lot of people are still asking you, we're going to say real estate. I feel bad. I'm like any of my buddies that are real estate agents, by the way, that are hearing this.
Sorry, Ross. We love you. We love you a lot.
It's like there are a lot of real estate agents that I'm going to continue to work with long-term, like for indefinitely, right? But for a majority, not the case. We're going to use real estate agents as a sample of not the right client for me for this sake.
Stepping stone / growth /
Yeah. So
period of time.
Yeah.
Season of life. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's good. I love it. Season of life. Now that brain farted me. Where was I at? ADD.
Having a few real estate clients that you'll keep to be able to maintain your overhead until I'm assuming where you're going with this to be to the point where until you cover your overhead and then some that you will then be able to say, okay.
Yes. So during this time of the transition, and by the way, I'm still in this transition right now. So I'm not on the other side of this yet. 100% of my income is not design and architecture, photography. Actually, I can tell you because we did our last quarter last month, and for design architectural, we were at, I'm fairly certain it was 51%. That sounds poetic, but it's,
I know.
But I'm actually serious. I think it was 51% for my last quarter.
Amazing.
Is design architecture, as opposed to the other 49%, which is a little bit of a split for me between real estate. I do kind of corporate headshots as well too. And I do some side other stuff as well too, but nonetheless, that shows us that I'm not there yet all the way. I'm still in transition. So during this process though, that means there are a lot of wrong clients are still coming to the door, still calling every day and asking for projects and they have money in their hand. So I have to have some really clear boundaries to me to say, does this align X, Y, Z to say yes or no? And if it doesn't always have to be a no, it has to be it's not, I'm not the right fit for that. And I made sure I surrounded myself with the appropriate people and I hand off people. I never, dude, we want to help people, right? I want to like, just as much as I want to thrive, I want to see everyone around me thrive. And that includes people that I don't know, and people that are, agents or other clients that are coming that just aren't the right fit. I don't want to say, no, sorry, wrong number, blink, and like hang up the phone. I want to say, no, I'm not the right person, but I can connect you with the right person.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of no's that are being said over the last year, but it's a no from me, but I can connect you is so important. So you can continue to still be helping people. And in the right way too. Like I've had some really good opportunities with some clients that would have been a great payday. But I know I'm just not the right person for them at this time. If you would have came to me a year ago, I would have loved to do this with you. But the reality is there's somebody out there that's hungrier, that this fits in their wheelhouse more. This would be perfect for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I get that. I've navigated a few conversations like that where I would say, I mean, your eloquence on delivery was so good. Mine was always like, man, like I'm flattered that you want to work with me. I think there is someone who is going to be a better fit for your investment. Because if this is your budget, this is what you can afford, this is what you're looking for, there's going to be someone who can fit this mold for you better. Mm-hmm. And I, again, have told people like, man, I'm really flattered that you do want to work with me and that like, I understand this is your budget and I'm the guy that you want, but like, it just doesn't make sense at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some people get offended.
It's okay, but that's fine.
It depends on how it comes at it. I mean, realistically, you're really doing them a solid too.
Absolutely. Because
you can't show up.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like the worst. It's like if everyone feels like everyone's losing, then nobody's winning, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not just a feeling of losing, but actually losing. It's a duality.
It's also really nice to be able to hook up with people locally that are also, if you have your ear to the ground enough, the people that are the movers and shakers in different wheelhouses, right? And so to be able to connect people with not the person you happen to know, but with the actual right person, they're going to thrive long-term with this relationship. I don't want to put somebody in their pocket that helps them with this project. I try to help people with people that are going to be a long-term fit, right? And knowing that I'm not that long-term fit, sometimes that just, even though I might want to take it sometimes like a job, sometimes I just know I'm like, yeah, no, it just doesn't align on enough elements. I'm going to connect you with blank.
Right. No, and it's important. But I mean, that's just part of like processing life, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously as creatives, like that's a very specified path because you can't really, if it was like a law firm, you can't really do that. People would be like, the heck?
Oh, yeah.
But also maybe you could. But I mean, the fruit of it overall has been you're walking into it. You're still walking into it.
Yeah, very much.
And so like right now, I know as we were catching up, you were just talking about like, man, like I have like my first big national gig or project.
It was first national magazine publication.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, brother. So yeah, like I've been like Our Detroit. I've been shooting with them for the last couple, maybe 2.5 years as a contract shooter for interior spaces for a particular column that's called, I don't know if you can call it a column, but section that's called I Need My Space. So I've been doing that for, it's like...
What a great pun.
It's like for people in Metro Detroit that build like their little dream areas in their home, and sometimes that's like a beautiful garden, sometimes it's a music room, sometimes it's a backyard with beautiful flowers and etc. So it could be a whole bunch of things, and it's helped me meet a lot of people locally in that space. So I still get geeked out very much so that my name is in a magazine. So to have one this last week was the first time I had a shoot that's going to be for a national publication, which is a magazine called Atomic Ranch, which focuses on mid-century modern builds.
Ooh, dream.
Yeah, and I shot a really beautiful home. We did some twilight shoots of it, and some exteriors. Gorgeous home. And yeah, this same week I got my first licensing deal on a photo that I took a few months back. The bathtub company reached out to me, Oceana, who's a Canada-based manufacturer, and said, "Hey, we'd like to license this photo." And it's been on my list for the last, by the way, like 6 months that I have to figure out my licensing agreement. Whew. And like a sole licensing agreement that has nothing to do with my shooting contract, right? And so I have like it half done. And I was like, this is it. This is my opportunity. So I finalized the stuff within a day, sent it over. They had payment within 24 hours, and the license agreement was docu-signed. And so this last week was first national publication shoot and first licensing deal. So
come on, that's so huge. What the heck? I've only done digital, and I'm like, yeah, Joe's more accomplished than me.
Oh man.
But no, that's so amazing, man. That, I mean, what? I sent you Amy last year?
Yeah, about a little over a year ago, maybe like about a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, time flies.
Right.
Granted, I've been gone for a while, so that makes sense.
By the way, we had the Detroit Design Awards, which is hosted by it's an hour publication, Detroit Design Magazine.
Yeah.
And they do yearly awards. And so some of the stuff that we shot for Amy at the beginning went this year into the Detroit Design, and she won some awards for some of our for the very first shoot that you hooked me up with her.
Stop.
Yeah, just like 2 months ago, she won an award for it in Detroit Design.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I'll have to send her congratulations.
Yeah,
and also
absolutely.
congratulations to you for being able to elevate our friend.
Yeah, man. She's awesome.
That's so cool. Gosh, dang it. Well, I don't want to hold you up too much. I know we both have some schedules and some things to attend to, but like, what are some things that you would impart into younger creatives that are wanting to hit their stride between getting a check that pays the bills and pursuing their dream client or industry?
Yeah. The awareness of around who you actually want to work with. Like it takes time to do that stuff though. Like I'm going to pause at that point. I'm going to go on a sidetrack for a second and go, there was a lot of free shoots that I did at the beginning because I had no idea what I wanted to photograph. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know if that was my next career thing or if I just wanted to go hang out with people. I just wanted to hang out with people.
Still bettered you. It was another stepping stone.
Yeah, man. So like, I don't think you can know what you want without trying a whole lot of shit. Pardon.
I didn't put a disclaimer. You're good.
So yeah, man, I photographed a lot of stuff my first year, all free. And I was lucky at that point because I was still transitioning from my other career. And so I still had a paycheck, though a small one. I was afforded some freedom. And I remember I called Drifter Coffee up, which is a coffee shop in Ferndale. Do you know them?
Oh, yeah. They're awesome.
They're so good.
That they are. I mean, Michigan's got a lot of good coffee shops, but go on.
So I met Aaliyah, who's the owner over there, at a paddleboard event around Belle Isle, which was called Once Around Belle Isle. I don't remember the name of the event, but she had her she had just her trailer truck, like camper kind of thing, where she was peddling coffee out the side of her trailer, and she was a vendor at this event, and she had good energy, like really good energy. And I remember talking to her a little bit. I was like, "Oh, this is a dope truck. Tell me about the build out." And I'm a car guy, so I wanted to hear about that stuff. And then we start talking, and I just said, I don't know. I wasn't doing photography at this time either. I just remembered her. I was like, so that was a cool person, and good business. And I walked away from that. And so when I started photographing, I was following her on Instagram. I noticed that she was getting ready to open up a shop in Ferndale. And so I reached out to her. I just said, "Hey, I met you at this event. I like what you're doing. I'm getting into my feet into photography. Would it be okay if I just come? I'm a fly on the wall. Let me get some of the process of you guys building your structure out. And let me just start taking pictures of you guys doing construction. And I'll go to some of the events that you're doing and shoot you slinging bean out the
Bean juice
at the Detroit farmers market and stuff." So she said, "Yeah, let's go grab coffee," and gauged my seriousness of it, and we had coffee, and she realized that I wasn't a scam artist, and I actually was legitimately just trying to get my foot in the door someplace, and she recognized that and said, "Yes, come hang out whenever you need. I'll let you know when we have events happening." So she let me know of her schedule, when they were going to be all over Detroit in their truck, or as they started to do construction on the building. And she was the first person that I really did not know that I put myself out there and said, can I just be a fly on the wall? And I shot everything for them, for like a lot of content for them, for about maybe 6 months to 8 months or so, a lot of their events. And it got me out of my comfort zone in a really great fashion, with people I didn't know, met a ton of people on that journey. And then I started doing photos for other people doing the same thing. And I was like, my buddy that owns a float studio, those float chamber things.
Yeah.
I guess we'll shout this out, Float Institute.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure they're Sterling Heights. Nonetheless, I was like, "Yo, can I come shoot your studio?" "Yeah, absolutely, come shoot my studio." And then Drifter introduced me to Gooseneck Coffee. They're roasting beans. "Hey, can I come shoot that?" "Okay, cool." And then, yes, anything and everything I could photograph, and it was all basically free. And then I figured out, though, what I hated and what I loved. And when I realized it was interiors, man, this is a long-winded answer to your.
You're okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. So when I realized it was interiors, real estate was the barrier of entry. I started getting into that. And then there's another point here of self-exploration that says, this isn't exactly it. It's close. It's like I'm at the door of a house and I can see in the window, but how do I open that door? And like, I'm out here shooting, like I'm so close to my dream client, but I can't quite figure out why it wasn't my dream client. And that took the coaches, that took people to talk to me, and also to believe in myself that I could actually deliver at that level. These clients are paying a lot of money. These are $1 million homes that I'm photographing, man. Like, the amount of money that's going into this, and care and attention to detail, you got to have some confidence going in there. Not only that you actually legitimately have the skill set, but also believe that your skill set's good enough to align with them.
Right.
So for me, it was self-exploration, trying a lot of things, and continuing to re-ask yourself questions that, am I in the right space? And that's how I got there. One other sidebar, back to this saying no to stuff, if I can hit on that for one more second.
Go for it. The floor is yours, man.
Asking if it's a distraction or an opportunity at every single crossroad. When you're sitting across the table from somebody, you're gonna when you network with a lot of people, when you talk to a lot of people, when you meet a lot of people, when you're a lot of places, you are gonna have opportunities that are offered to you. We can do whatever the heck we want to do, really. If we want to sell dog treats, sure, let's make dog treats. You wanna sell bowling balls? Cool, we'll sell bowling balls.
Yeah.
But like, people that are into business and stuff, like a lot of times I get geeked out. I'm excited. You can hear my energy right now, even.
Hands down.
And so, is the opportunity that is in front of me a distraction against where I'm wanting to be and go, or is it an opportunity that helps me get a little bit closer to that? You know, if somebody with a wedding came up to me and said, "Hey, I would love you to photograph my wedding," does that get me any closer to shooting interiors for custom home builders, or get me in publications with Architectural Digest or Dwell? And
Maybe, but probably not.
probably not. And though it's, you know, so it's like continuing to ask yourself that. And at some point you have to separate, you got to pay the bills, but at some point you got to separate the money from that. Like, that's a paid gig, yes. But at a threshold, you have to start redirecting your compass a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I love that you said compass. It actually reminds me of this symbolic thing that I heard, that when pilots are navigating a plane to reach their destination, it isn't a hard turn. It's actually just micro adjustments. And I'm talking about down to like the millimeter adjustment until they get to their exact longitude and latitude. Because it's never, you know, I think there's a lot of people who think, oh, if I could just do this and change this about my life, things would be different. But it's not. It's the minor building blocks, as we talked about, or as at least as we mentioned, that allow you to then pivot and figure out what kind of foundation and direction you want to go towards.
Absolutely. Very poetic.
It is. I know. I was like, super cool. I got to talk to a Air Force pilot about that, and he was like, absolutely. And I was like, great.
I really love that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's these little micro adjustments that we make that get us just, you can't have your eyes on your feet at all times. You got to look up and reassess. And it's a constant reassessment. You don't assess and say, okay, I've done my assess, checked off the list, see you in 25 years. Like, it's like a weekly, monthly, quarterly assessment. Like, am I going in the is this leading to where I want to go? Does this get to where, and you really have to be kind of real with yourself, and answer hard questions, and have to be willing to look inward a lot. Journaling helps. Understanding your values helps.
Having people who know you helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Having people that know you and that are willing to be real with you and tell you, you know, call your bullshit. Hey, you said you wanted to do X, so why are you overdoing Y? Even though that doesn't seem to really super align with the things that you said. Constant self-reflection. A lot of it.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's why I take so many trips.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you were telling me, we had coffee before this, and you were telling me some reset time by yourself, just like looking at the mountains, standing in the water, whatever it is, solo time. Anything that you can find that, you know, that looks different for everybody. For me, that's a blue chair in the corner of my house next to a window with a cup of coffee. Yeah, it is. And the window's open, the coffee's there, some light music is playing, and I'm journaling in my phone or written. And I know that's a peaceful place for me. I also know that, you know, God, we talked about recharging as well too, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Feels like it's a whole new episode though.
A whole nother episode. Self-care.
Self-care.
1, 2, and 1 not, and how to discipline yourself so you're not watching TV for the rest of the day.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
End of thought on that one.
Well, Joe, where can people see your work, especially like the new publication, examples of your work, etc.? How can they find you?
Yeah. So I think Instagram's the easiest place to come find me because my website changes, right? So Tiano is my last name. Joe is my first name. My Instagram is at Tiano, Tiano _Joe, Joe.
Great.
And
nice.
Yeah, and that link, and it'll link to my website. I have samples of my work. I went a long time without posting stuff, and it's up to date though. I have like the most current post that I have today, which is, well, if we say a date, then this lives in a certain time frame.
Correct.
So we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
But I keep my Instagram very up to date. My website's very up to date as well too. So you'll see some of my publication work on there, and you'll see some of my photos, and I love it a lot.
Come on. Love it. Awesome, y'all. Well, to any future designers, those who are working in millwork, because there are, I feel like a whole bunch of different new millworks popping up, or at least being highlighted, and would love to see your work justified to its full potential. This is your guy. Quit sleeping on him.
Thank you, brother.
Not a problem at all. Love you, man.
You too, man.
Thank you again for being on. Thank you for inspiring future creatives and upcoming creatives. And yeah, we'll see you next time, folks.
This was a blast.